Hi, Andrew here. Today I'd like to teach you how to create a rational function from a word problem. So let's take a look. It says a large mixing tank currently contains 200 gallons of water, into which 10 pounds of sugar have been mixed. Now a tap will open, meaning like a faucet, and it's going to pour 10 gallons of water per minute into the tank. At the same time, sugar is poured into the tank at a rate of 3 pounds per minute. Then it wants us to find the concentration in pounds per gallon of sugar, all right, in the tank after t minutes. All right, so first thing is focus on the question, or focus on the problem statement, right? It says to find the concentration, and it says pounds per gallon. Well, pounds of what? Pounds of bananas, right? As my sixth grade teacher used to say. What's that, pounds of oranges? No, it's pounds of sugar in this problem, all right? Per gallon of what? Per gallon of grape juice? No, per gallon of water, because that's what we're talking about. So the concentration here is going to be, I know that we're going to be talking about pounds, lbs, of sugar per gallons, gal, of water. All right, this is how my final answer in terms of the units has to look. All right, so now from here, I have to do a little bit of thinking, and I have to ask myself, okay, I kind of understand that, and they're telling me something initially, right at the top part of this problem. They're saying like you have a tank, and inside of this tank, so you have a tank, inside of the tank, you already have 200 gallons of water, and you already have 10 pounds of sugar, right? 10 pounds of sugar, 200 gallons of water. So I know that before anything starts changing or before I open any type of faucet, I already know I have an initial concentration here, right? And I can find that, all right? Or I already know that I have, let's say, an initial amount of sugar and an initial amount of water. So what I realize here is that this concentration, once I start adding more water to it and more sugar, the concentration changes over time, all right? But the initial amount of my sugar doesn't change. Initially, right? Initially, I have 10 pounds of sugar. And initially, I have then 200 gallons of water. Now, over time, then, the amount of sugar will be changing. Why? Well, because that's what it told me. It said now that we're going to pour 3 pounds per minute of sugar into the tank, right? So every single minute now that passes, I'm going to be putting in 3 pounds of sugar per minute. And I'm also then going to be putting in now some more water, as it tells me in the problem. It says that the tap will open and 10 gallons of water per minute are going to enter. So now I have 10 gallons, sorry, if I said pounds, I apologize, 10 gallons of water per minute. So I know that over time, my sugar is going to be changing at a rate of 3 pounds every minute, okay? So I know that in terms of the amount of sugar that's in this, let's say, container, it's going to be a function of the initial amount of sugar that's in there, plus every single minute that passes by, I'm going to be putting in 3 more pounds of sugar. So I know then that the final concentration of or I shouldn't say concentration, but the final amount of sugar in this tank will be 10 pounds plus however many minutes have ticked by multiplied by the 3 pounds, right? In other words, if 2 minutes go by and you know that you started with 10 pounds and you're going to add 3 pounds every minute for 2 minutes, you know you're going to add a total of 6 pounds of sugar plus the initial 10. So the final concentration, I keep saying concentration, but the final amount of sugar in the tank here is going to be 16, right? So you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? The hard part now is, okay, well, how the heck do I put that into a formula here, right? Now, this is the part where you have to think. You already have this initial amount. Think about what we just said, okay? You have the initial amount, and you're going to be adding to it 3, okay, the rate at which you're adding the sugar, 3 pounds per minute. 3 pounds, I'll even use the unit, per minute. All right, multiplied then by the number of minutes, right? However much time passes by, right? So if 2 minutes go by, you take the 2 times, which we put in, 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 10 is 16. Ah, there it is, right? If 400 minutes passes by, then it's going to be 3 times the 400, which is going to be 1200, and then you're going to add the 10 to it, so it's going to be 1210. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Now, if that's what's going to be happening to the sugar, then do we know what's going to be happening to the water? What's the same idea, right? If we're starting with the 200 gallons of water, and we know that every single minute we're going to be adding 10 gallons, then all we have to do now is add to my initial amount of water. I'm going to be adding then the 10 gallons every single minute, multiplied then by the number of minutes. Right? Now, that's the formula. That's it. So at any point in time in the future, okay, I can find the concentration, because I know then that if 2 minutes passes by, I'm going to have 16 pounds of sugar. And if 2 minutes passes by down here, I didn't do the math, but the 2 pounds times the 10 gallons, 2 minutes times the 10 gallons per minute is going to be 20. And then you already started with 200, so it's 220. So then it'd be 16 over 220. Okay? That's it. So formulating this a little bit more, maybe we would write concentration over time. Okay, it's going to be equal to now 10 plus 3t, because the t will represent, let me make that t a little bit more obvious than the plus sign, divided then by 200 plus now 10t. And that's really now the formula with the t's in it, because that's what they wanted after t minutes, okay? Now, if you'd like, you can graph this thing and see kind of what happens over time, right? So let's plug it in. So we're going to do 10 plus 3x, x is going to be a place of t, divided by now 200 plus 10x. All right, close the parentheses. Now, you're probably going to have to adjust your window here a little bit. Do x minimum is 0. Do x max of, let's say, 100. Maybe let's go 500. That might be a little bit better. And the y minimum of 0, let's go to y max of maybe 1. And let's see what's going to happen with the graph, okay? So as you can see here, all right, the concentration that's going to be on the y-axis here, and time is then on the x, all right? The concentration will definitely increase initially, and that should make sense because at the very, very start, right, you're starting with a concentration of 10 over 200. So 10 over 200 is 0.05. But then what you're doing is you're adding now a concentration of 3 over 10, or you're adding a concentration of 0.7, all right, over time. Oh, excuse me, 0.3. What am I talking about? 0.3. If I could do the math, that'd be nice. And what's basically going to happen then is the concentration will begin to approach 0.3 over time. All right, if it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, if the time goes out keeps going and going and going, this initial amount becomes basically insignificant, right? And the final concentration here will be basically 0.3. And that's kind of what the graph is showing us, right? It increases initially, but then it's reaching some kind of plateau here. Now, if you were to really change your, let's say, go to your table, all right, I might have to change some things here, but go to your table. And maybe I should step my, so what you're going to do is you're going to change your table. Let's go by 100, okay? Hit enter. And now what's going to happen is these are going to be basically jumping by 100 units, okay? So if you notice initially, it's basically, well, what I'm trying to say is over time, what does this thing basically begin to approach, right? If you notice, if I keep going and going and going and going and going, right? It's going to approach 0.299999999. It's going to be basically approaching 0.3. All right? And guess what? That's what limits are all about. Isn't this fun? By the way, if you had fun, check out more of our stuff, because we have thousands of videos out there. We're always producing content to help you out, and we really want to see you succeed. So check out our website, because we're always building things for you. And yeah. I will talk to you soon in a video, unless you contact me. Go for it. I love to hear from you. Take care.